Not only are we celebrating 70 years of local coverage you can count on, this year we're also celebrating 30 years of the Highlight Zone, 30 years of athletes, coaches, and communities. We spoke with past and present members of our sports department about how the Highlight Zone has transformed into what it is today.
It's time for the News Channel 15 Highlight Zone.
The first time we went on, it just blew people away. Like, how much are you doing? We covered at least twice as many games as anybody else.
In 1994, WANE 15 launched the first Highlight Zone, a sports show solely dedicated to highlighting high school football teams in Northeast Indiana on Friday nights. This was a first in the Fort Wayne market. Former sports director Randy Schiffman remembers having to keep the launch of the Highlight Zone a secret.
When we started it, we had to keep it so under wraps.
Once they got the ball rolling, Friday nights were the nights they looked forward to the most.
We had so much fun doing it. You could just feel the energy when we go out. All the photogs were pumped up.
During the Highlight Zone, the crew would dedicate one game as the big game of the week, also known as
Big Game Pat. Every week, Pat did a game, and he would do 2 to 3 minutes on the game. He'd be there for the entire thing. And it was always Big Game Pat. It was tremendous.
Okay, whatever the biggest game of the week is, that's where I'm going. We're going to be there live at 6 o'clock, and then, if we could be there live after the game or whatever it was, we were going to spotlight that big game. And the Highlight Zone gave us that opportunity to do that.
Way to start the 2003 high school football season.
But I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like this.
Elmhurst snaps the longest losing streak in state history against top-ranked Bishop Dwenger.
A new face joined the WANE 15 sports department in 2008, bringing high energy to the Highlight Zone. Current sports director Glenn Marini.
I got here July 4th, and so I had a couple months. I had flashcards with all the teams on them for the schools and the mascots and their records and their head coaches, because it was a big deal. And I'd heard a lot about it. I had known the name, and I had seen some of the previous shows, so I knew that there was a lot that went into it. The first few years that I was doing the Highlight Zone, we did it with 2 anchors on a set with these old school lockers behind us, and that transitioned a few years later into me solo hosting. On a given Friday, we'll send 10 to 12 people out to go and get highlights, which allows us to get to a lot of places that, other stations our size or other stations in the market can't. Not everybody can send a camera to Bern, or can send a camera to Angola, or can send a camera to Kosciuszko County to get Wawasee or Tippecanoe Valley. And some of those outlying communities that don't get covered every week are some of the ones where you get the best feedback from, because they aren't used to being on TV all the time.
Adding boys and girls basketball to the Highlight Zone came later. In this past season of the Highlight Zone, Glenn and his crew hit a huge milestone.
We had the most basketball games we'd ever shot. We shot 30 one night, which was about as many as like a half-hour show can hold. So we've definitely upped our game in that department.
As the Highlight Zone has changed and evolved over the last 30 years, Randy, Pat, and Glenn all value what the Highlight Zone means to the communities of Northeast Indiana.
You have no idea how important your show is to some of these kids. And she said, for a lot of kids, it's the only positive feedback that they get from adults. You show them doing good things, and you put them in such a great light, and it means so much to them. I hear them talk about it. And for me, that's one of the most touching things that I ever received in my career.
Number one, the Highlight Zone is a team. We cover teams, but we were a team. And that team has changed just like any other sports team would throughout the years. But the dedication and the pride when you go out on a Friday night, when you're wearing your WANE 15 logo out there covering the games, and people look for us. They know when they see the cameras there, and they're all going to be screaming, they're all going to be yelling, and they're going to watch it. Now they can watch it on their phone, but I'm proud to have been a part of that and to work with Randy, and then to see how Glenn has done since then.
It isn't just a football show. It's a show about the communities surrounding these schools. We like to have the bumps in and out of breaks of cheerleaders or fans or different people. So it is a sports show, but we want it to be a community show, because in most small communities on a Friday night, the place to be is a football game, or in Indiana, a basketball game.
Tomorrow on Nightcast begins the first Highlight Zone of the 30th season, Fort Wayne's longest running and most watched sports show. For Platinum Perspective, I'm Taylor King.